If there are some ASMR rain sounds going on in the background of the video, just enjoy it, okay? It's literally storming outside and I can't do anything about it. Hello guys, and welcome to another monthly reading wrap up. Obviously last month was June. Welcome to August. A lot of you are going back to school. My heart breaks and aches for you. Okay, I remember being there. I remember it all too well. Anyway, I think that you guys know how these videos go. Basically, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in July and telling you guys my thoughts and opinions and stuff on them. So, pretty self-explanatory. Let's get into it, shall we? Before I start talking about these books, I just want to say, if I sound like really out of breath and really nasally, it's because I'm sick. I've been sick for so long. It's so annoying. And I am in the mode right now where there's a bunch of mucus, so it makes it hard for me to talk. So let's get into what I read this month. How many books did I read this month? I read 24 books this month. I'm pretty sure that this is my best reading month yet, ever. I think that last September is one of my first book videos that I ever uploaded to this channel, and I did a September reading wrap up, and I'm pretty sure I read 21 books that month. So I read 24 books this month, which is so great. I don't know how I managed to read 24 books this month. I know I'm always writing you guys, but I just always want to let you guys know that numbers don't matter, and I always say quality over quantity. Okay, that's what matters. I would rather read one of my favorite book of all time than 24 mediocre books, which kind of happened this month. That's tea will spill throughout the video, so let's get into it. The first 3 books that I read this month were the books that I had Isaac pick out for my boyfriend picks, my TBR. That was at the very beginning of this month, which feels forever ago. He picked these 3 books, which I really went in depth and talked about in that video. So I'm gonna recommend you guys go watch that video because honestly these books were pretty mediocre. I rated 10 Rules for Faking It a 2.5 stars, and then I read The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes. This is more of a mystery. I rated this one a 3 stars. And then we have The Messy Lives of Book People. Honestly, this looks like a Walmart book. I say this in the most respectful way possible, but you know when you were younger and you saw those books that you really only find at Walmart that have covers like this? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Probably not. It's probably something weird in my brain. Okay, I know. Anyway, this was 2 stars because it was boring and slow and I didn't care about it. But then we go into the books that I read for my swapping screen time with reading. The first one I read for that was Wait For It. I gave this a 4.5 stars. This is one of my favorite Mariana Zapata books. If you guys watch my channel, you should know because I read a Mariana Zapata book every month, or at least I try to. This was on my TBR for the past 3 months and I finally read it. It's just that this is so long. It's 600 plus pages. They're all slow burns. So I was do I really want to read a 600 page slow burn right now? But then once I got reading it, I swear this book did not feel 600 pages, and the slow burn didn't feel oh my god, excruciating. Both characters have their own stuff going on where you're more focusing on what's going on with them than you really care about their relationship. You care about their relationship, but it doesn't make you focus on the slow burn. It doesn't feel as slow as her other ones do. This book is about Diana, and she has to take care of her brother's kids, and once she moves into this new house, she meets the closed off neighbor from across the street. I call him closed off because I wouldn't categorize him as grumpy. It's not a grumpy sunshine. Dallas is one of my favorite Mariana Zapata book boyfriends. He's up there. Just everything that he does, how intuitive he is with feelings and everything. It's just, I love it. Also, I love how Mariana Zapata writes kids, because a lot of authors write kids where it's you've obviously never been around a child before because they do not talk like an academic scholar. But she writes children so well that it doesn't make them cringy, because in a lot of books I don't really read single parent or anything like that because kids in books just kind of cringe me out. And one thing that I love about this book too is that you see a lot of characters from her other books, like Vanessa from The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and we see the main girl from Colty in this book as well. I just like seeing little glimpses of the other characters that you got to read and love as well. And then I read Collided. This is book number 2 in the Dirty Air series. I read this, I gave it a 3 stars. I was kind of a little bit disappointed by this book. Like, it's not my favorite Lauren Asher book, honestly, but it's not bad. Like, none of Lauren Asher's books are bad. This book I kind of had higher hopes for because I liked both of these characters in Throttled, and I knew their book was coming next because Sophie is the best friend in that book and Liam is like Noah's friend in that book. Kind of get the premise of like what Sophie and Liam are doing in Throttled, and then it just felt like really repetitive at first, like with Sophie, and you read a lot of stuff that happened in Throttled just kind of from Sophie's point of view, and I was like, okay, like I was just kind of like, okay, this just feels super repetitive. Like, weirdly, I didn't feel the chemistry with them. Like, I just didn't feel where I was supposed to really be rooting for them. One of the things that I hate the most in books is when characters just refuse to admit feelings even though they know that they're there. Like, that just annoys me so much. Like, I just can't do that. This trope is like a guy who doesn't do relationships. Like, I don't do relationships. I don't know why, I just hate male characters like that. I understand, like, you're not always looking for a relationship, but if you find somebody and companionship is something that you can see with them, why wouldn't you just pursue it? And also the way that this book ended, you could tell, which you guys have told me, that she's writing a series called Dirty Hairs, like H-E-I-R-S, or H-I-S, I'm pretty sure it's H-E-I-R-S. Like, you know, when you're the hair of something, like you inherit something, which is going to follow like their kids, because at the end of this book you kind of got like this snippet of their kids, and I was like, I'm not mad at it. Next, I read The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. This was another book this month that I was let down by. There's going to be a few of those this month, so just get ready. This was another book that I was let down this month. This is a Childhood Friends to Lovers, and you guys know that is my favorite trope of all time. So I was really looking forward to this, and I had seen a few book talks about it, so I was like, okay, people are really raving about this. It was a short read, and so I thought this is going to be good. It just wasn't. Like, it didn't give anything that I was wanting it to give. I rated this a 3 stars, but it was because I was enjoying it. Like, I liked the 2 characters, and the reasoning behind why they didn't speak was a good one, because sometimes you read like the whole entire why they didn't speak trope, because the whole entire premise of this book is that it's 2 childhood friends and they grew up together each summer at this lake house. So it's kind of like The Summer I Turned Pretty. And they grew up with each other's families because her mom and his dad are best friends. So their families have always been super close, and they spend every summer at this lake house together. And then one summer kind of everything goes wrong and they don't speak to each other for years. So she goes back to go and sell this lake house, but he is there and he doesn't want to sell a lake house. And he's like, you have to stay for the summer, and if by the end of the summer, or is it a month, if you still want to sell it, then we will sell it. And so she agrees. And most of the time in books like this, the reasoning that they don't speak is kind of like stupid. You're like, okay, you just wasted like 15 years for what? But this one was an actual good reasoning, but like the actual story, like their past point of views, like I just wasn't feeling where like they had this romantic, they're falling for each other. Like, I didn't really feel that. Next, I read As Good as Dead, which I gave a whopping 4.75 stars. Guys, this book was so close to being 5 stars, but I am actually extremely picky with my 5 stars. A lot of you guys are always like, can you do my 5-star reads video? Guys, when I tell you my actual like 5-star reads list is so minuscule, because I will rate a book 5 stars and then most of the time I will go back and change it to like a 4.5 after thinking about it. Like, I have to love everything about a book for it to be 5 stars. This book was so close, but there's something about this book that just really like irked me a lot that I just couldn't rate it 5 stars. But this was definitely my favorite book in the whole entire series. This book was so freaking good. Like, for me, when I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder November of 2021, and then I didn't pick up Good Girl Bad Blood until last month in June. Then I picked this one up, and I was like, it just kept getting better and better for me. I feel like I put off this series for a long time because I didn't love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so I was like, I'll wait to read the rest, you know, like they're not going to be my fave. This book was so good. Pip and Ravi in this book were like my all top tier. Like, I feel like it more focused on them in this book, since it kind of more revolved around her. Like, she wasn't exactly putting together a mystery for someone else. It was like on her. And I can't really go into the premise of this book because it is the third and final one of the series. You would definitely have to read like the other 2 books. But basically Pip is this like, she has this podcast, a Good Girls Guide to Murder podcast, where she basically finds these like cases and tries to solve them. Not tries, she does. And there's like a bunch of different things in this book going on that have happened in other books. What I also liked was that the writing style in this book was different to reflect on Pip's mindset, because Pip has been through a lot. She's going through a lot in this book, and Holly Jackson wrote this book in a different way than the other 2 books are. Kind of more of like, not a manic writing style, but you can tell, because this is told from a third POV, that Pip is feeling these different things in her mind, and it reflects in the writing, which I love when authors do that. Like I said earlier though, I love Pip and Robbie in this book. Their banter is like so cute, just how they interact with each other, how much Robbie genuinely cares about Pip. Like, he is a ride or die. Literally. Pip, her boyfriend's a ride or die, her friends are a ride or die. Like, Pip has some real ones around her. Like, if you've read this book, you know you're picking up what I'm putting down. And then I read My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This was one of my more anticipated reads, especially for the summertime. I really like Tessa Bailey's writing. I feel like her books are just really easily enjoyed. I was severely underwhelmed by this book, as well as this book is basically like insta-lovey. Never put my name on that. I hate reading insta-love. It's kind of like a murder mystery romance book, and to me, like, the mystery wasn't even really talked about. It was more about the 2 characters' tension between each other, but them not wanting to do anything about it. And then all of a sudden at the end it was like boom, 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 for all the stuff for this mystery aspect, and I was like, it was just put together poorly for me. And then I read the Winter in Paradise trilogy by Elin Hilderbrand. So I read Winter in Paradise, What Happens in Paradise, and Trouble in Paradise, all while I was on vacation. And it's funny because all of these books individually got a 3 stars for me. So this whole entire series was a 3 stars for me. I really enjoyed these books, but like, it wasn't like I'm ever gonna think about these again. It was a perfect vacation on the beach read. Like, if you guys are on vacation, if you guys are going to the beach, definitely pick up these books because they are the perfect beach read. Like, I was so engrossed in the storyline, and I was interested to see what was going to happen. There's so much drama, so many plot twists, so many things you're trying to figure out through these books, and there's also like subplots of romance. You get all of these POVs. So the first book is Winter in Paradise. Again, rated this book a 3 stars. This book, you are kind of getting an introduction to all of the stuff. So you're meeting our main character, which is the wife of the husband, that she gets a call on New Year's that her husband is dead on the Virgin Islands. And she's like, what? My husband is supposed to be away on business. Why would he be on the Virgin Islands in a helicopter crash? So then her and her family go over and basically uncover this whole entire mystery that is sitting in their lap as to why her husband was over there and what he was doing. You kind of like know, like, as soon as it's brought up, what's going to happen, like what's going to go on, not like what's going to happen through the books, but like what's going on with her husband and everything like that. And then it's kind of interesting because there are these other subplots of things that you want to figure out. For me, I figured out every little thing throughout the series before it was even introduced as a thing. Like, I picked up on the tiny hints. I loved the setting. Like I said, perfect for vacation. The setting was absolutely amazing, beautiful. And then we have What Happens in Paradise, which was also a 3 stars. This one felt a little slow in the beginning and middle because of where we left off. Like, it just felt like all of a sudden everything was moving slow. So it felt like the first one was a build-up. So I expected the first one to be a build-up for what this has to offer. But then it really didn't start getting to where you want the book to go until the end of it. Because at the end of this book, the drama started picking up so much. But this book felt like a little bit of a filler. But then I went into Troubles in Paradise, which was also a 3 stars. And this, just all the drama picks up. You are in this like whirlwind of stuff that's happening. Everything's kind of closing up finally. Because I liked learning more about the characters in this book because you kind of learn more about the characters versus the mystery that you know about throughout the rest of the books. Because I didn't care about the mystery at all. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't care about those characters at all. Hated them, really didn't care about them, didn't care about any of that. This book didn't feel slow. It felt like something was always going on. Like, no matter whose POV you were in, there was something going on with them that you wanted to figure out. All in all, these books were just super easy reads, good beach reads. So if you're going on vacay or are at the beach or something, these are some good books to pick up. Or even if you just want to like have a little bit of escapism, definitely pick these up. Then I picked up Wrecked by Lauren Asha. I don't know why I always say her name with a British accent. Picked this up, gave it a 2 stars. I was so disappointed in this book. Like, this was definitely my least favorite book of the series. I think this is my least favorite Lauren Asher book ever. This book was just another one of those where the guy was like, I don't do relationships. And I was like, what I did like about this book was the anxiety representation, especially in men, and going to therapy and all of that stuff, because I feel like it's very stigmatized. So I love that Lauren Asher always makes sure to write that, especially with men in books. And I understand to an extent why Jax is the way that he is. Like, I understand why, but I just didn't really connect. Like, I didn't ever connect with the characters. And I feel like especially with books like these, you have to connect to the characters to really love it. And it just didn't happen for me. So it was a 2 stars. I really didn't enjoy this book, and I didn't really like getting through it. And then I picked up Bound by Honor by Cora Riley, and this was a 2 star for me. This was one of those books that you pick up because I wanted to read something, and I was so sick. This was like one of my like really bad days. I was so sick, and I just wanted to pick up a book that would be just short and easy to read and just more entertaining than like me really wanting to love a book and like give it my full attention. And that's what this did. It was entertaining to get through. In my opinion, I have read way better Mafia romances on Wattpad than this, but I still thought it was very entertaining. You know, these are always dark romances, okay? They're literally the Mafia. So if you don't like books like that where they're morally, not even morally gray. They're not morally gray. They're just no morals, none. Well, yeah, they're morally gray. The thing is, I read this book super fast. It was entertaining, okay? Obviously, Mafia romances are sunshines and rainbows, and you're not gonna love the main dude so much because there's gonna be things that he does that annoys you as well as the main girl. And also, like, it just didn't have a plot. Like, this book just had no plot. I liked it enough to go onto my Kindle and read Bound by Love, which is going to annoy some of you that I did that because I'm pretty sure Bound by Honor is the first book in the Born in Blood Mafia series. Bound by Love is the 6th book. So I went from the 1st to the 6th book, but honestly, I didn't miss anything. Like, it doesn't talk about really like other couples. I think it talks about like one. I had no issue jumping from the 1st to the 6th book, which I know is probably going to annoy people, but I just really wanted to like continue reading their romance. So I read Bound by Love. I gave that a 2.5 stars. It was better than Bound by Honor because it did have more of a plot. The middle was kind of boring, but like the ending of the book was really good. They were just like super fast reads and kept me entertained. I definitely want to read the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark, and she just released the discreet covers that are so much better than the, you know, face ones. So now I actually want to buy them because I was like, I will probably just read them on Kindle Unlimited because I hate the covers, and I do really refuse to buy it where it's just like a man on the cover. Like no. No. Could you imagine reading that in public? Like, I'm sorry, yeah, call me whatever, but I don't really want to see people like judging me off that in public. So like, I love when covers, like after you read the book you understand why the cover, like Lauren Asher did that with like all of her books for the Dirty Air series and the Fine Print series, and I love that. So talking about that, I then read Redeemed, Lauren Asher, 4th book and final book in the Dirty Air series. So I finished the Dirty Air series this month. This book I rated a 4.5 stars. I think this was my favorite. I don't know if I loved this more than Throttled though. Ooh, I might have. Honestly, they're even, or this one is winning by like a tiny bit. I loved this one. The beginning caught me off guard. I was like, what is going on? This is about Santi, who is Maya's brother. In Throttled, you have Maya and Noah, and Maya and Santi are brother and sister. So Santi, this is Santi's book. And in this one, what I loved about it was that you get to see like Noah and Santi's best friendship and how close they are, like their brother-in-laws, obviously. But you get to see their relationship because in the first book, they didn't like each other at all. So to see like their relationship and how it is now, I loved that. I loved the main characters. I loved Santi and Chloe. I loved the storyline. This is fake dating. So if you guys like fake dating, read the rest of the series and then get to the fourth and final book. But it's fake dating. So cute. I love their banter. The way that Chloe was exactly what Santi needed was just everything to me. Like, they were so cute, and I enjoyed all this book. Like, this book literally had me going, like, I found myself smiling. And when that happens over words on paper, I look myself in the mirror and I say, Destiny, get a grip. Get a grip, because this is a little bit concerning that you're like over fictional words on a page. Like, none of this is real. You know, the TikTok words like, y'all be weak in the knees, stand up. Like, that's how I have to look at myself a lot. And I loved the way that this wrapped everything up. Like I said, with Collided, it also kind of hinted to the Dirty Hair series, so very excited for that. I know she's writing the last book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, so I think it's coming after that. And then since we were just like finishing off series, I read Twisted Lies, and this book disappointed me. I gave this book a 3 stars, guys. I was really expecting this book to be like my favorite book out of all of them, and I was so bored. Also, Christian, like, I didn't dislike him. Christian is a morally gray character, okay? Literally even says that in the dedication. To everyone whose favorite color is morally gray. Like, yes, Christian is a morally gray character, and when you get, like, he's not in the Mafia, but I'm saying, like when, for example, when you read Mafia books, and they're like, I did a background check on her, and I'm obsessed with her, and I want to make her mine. Like, that's kind of the energy that he's giving. I don't really like that energy. Babe, this is very much one-sided. I could look over that if the rest of the book was good. Like, honestly, like, that doesn't bother me too much, but that just stuck out to me because I was just so bored. Like, it felt so repetitive. It felt so boring. The only plot was like this other subplot going on with her, and it was just like, the way that even wrapped up, I was like, okay. And then I read Perfect Addiction. We're just gonna act like this top part of it doesn't exist. This book, so random. I ordered it on Amazon and then picked it up and read it, because this is actually a Wattpad book, and I had read this book like when I was like 15 on Wattpad, and it like was one of my favorite Wattpad books ever. 15-year-old me loved this book. How does 19-year-old me feel about it? I rated this book a 3 stars. I feel like I had a lot of 2, 3 stars this month. This book more just made me reminisce about my Wattpad days, like all of the books I read, because I have another Wattpad book that I bought from Wattpad. Our main character is this like, not MMA. Is it MMA? Yes. MMA trainer. She like trains MMA fighters, and her boyfriend, who's an MMA fighter, cheats on her, so she goes to his rival to help him be able to be her ex-boyfriend. And you're like following that storyline, and I couldn't remember until I started getting to the end of the book. I was like, I remember how much the ending of this book annoyed the living crap out of me. Like, it bothered me so bad. I will say I didn't love it as much as I did when I was like 15. Like, it's definitely 3 stars, but it's funny to see how much I loved like a Wattpad book and how that translates to like my rating system with like actual, not like actual books, but I'm talking about like physical books when I read them. And I'm like, yeah, this was a 3 stars. You know, published books is the word I'm looking for. It's so funny because like when I read this on Wattpad, I was like, oh, this is great, like compared to other stuff that I'm reading on Wattpad. But then when you put it to like published books, I'm like, yeah, not that amazing. And then I read Dear Ava. I didn't necessarily have like high hopes for this book, but I was a little bit disappointed. I gave this book a 2 stars. The topics, I would definitely look up trigger warnings for this book. The topics that this book deals with, they deal with them very well, and I feel like they deal with them in a very realistic way, especially in high school. How the school is kind of divided, and how some people believe her, some people don't, and her issues with people at school, like that I felt was handled very well. This book also gave me very much 13 Reasons Why vibes, like so much. It reminded me a lot of the first and second season of 13 Reasons Why a lot. Also, like the whole entire secret admirer aspect, because literally the book is called Dear Ava, and how she gets a note in her locker from a shark, which is the boys on the football team, and she doesn't like the football team. and it's like a secret admirer. Yeah, that fell flat for me because they like do it in the beginning and then she doesn't really get any other notes or anything throughout the whole entire book, and then at the end all of a sudden it's like starts a little bit, not even a lot, and then all of a sudden you know who it is, but you knew who it was the whole entire time. That, I was just like, why did we even put that in the book? Like, why can we? And you think it's going to be a huge plot point because it's literally called Dear Ava. So you're like, oh, okay, she's gonna have the secret admirer. Like, no, it wasn't even a big point in the book. And then I read In 27 Days, which is also a book from Wattpad that I loved and had it suppressed deep in the back of my mind. Like, I always remembered that this book existed. So basically it's about this boy at school who dies. And this girl is like, oh my gosh, she goes to his funeral. She's like, wow. And then she makes a deal with death to have 27 days to save him, because that's basically how long it took him to decide to take his own life. So she makes a deal with death that she can save him in that 27-day time frame. And I really reread this book because I remembered how much I loved it when I read it on Wattpad, and I was like, I just really like want to see what like 15-year-old me was loving about Wattpad. And I did give this a 3 stars. It was definitely good, not as like amazing as I remember, but it was good. And what I liked about this was I felt like it was super realistic for like relationships in high school, not even just like romantic relationships, but also friendships. Her going up to him and him being kind of like closed off, like, why are you coming up to me? We have had classes together and you have never spoke to me. Why are you all of a sudden coming up to me? And him kind of being harder to like get to, but also like their friendship and the timeline of a friendship. Also, since it takes place over 27 days, like, it's like most books like rush a plot line where I'm like, this is not realistic at all. This book, I would recommend it because it's such a different storyline. So is decent. I ended off the month with reading a series that is very widely loved on here and on TikTok. You guys had some strong opinions on my opinions. So I read this series by Say Abby, and I read all 5 books in the span of like 5 to 6 hours yesterday, and I just didn't love it. Like, I rated the series overall a 2 stars. I really didn't see like the hype that everyone else did. I posted a story and I was like, yeah, this cannot be the series that you guys are like raving about, because it wasn't very good. And I got so many DMs of people very upset with me, and I was like reading some of these DMs that were very strongly worded to me, and then I posted I struck a nerve, because I was literally like, wow, people very much feel strongly about this book. I know how it is, like when you love a book and someone that you watch or someone that you like really like want their opinion on it, and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't like that book at all, and you're like, and it almost feels like, oh my gosh, like I understand that feeling. I'm not saying this author is absolutely horrible. Like, anytime that I review a book, it's never to reflect on the author. It doesn't reflect on my opinion of them. It's just like my opinion of this fictional story. It's not that I didn't like the point of the book, I didn't like the execution. Like, that's what it was. Like, I understand and I can appreciate female rage and getting revenge. Like, yes, totally rooting for Lana. Like, yes, queen, go out, do that. Because basically, if you guys don't know, this series is about a female serial killer, and she dates an FBI agent who is looking for the serial killer that she just happens to be the serial killer that he's looking for, but he doesn't know that. For me, what I didn't like about it was that there were so many characters introduced that I had a hard time keeping track of like who was who. Like, there were sometimes that it would be like, this person was doing this and this is how this connects, and I'd be like, what? I was reading the book and I was like, wait, when did that happen? Like, I was so like, just so much going on. So in the first book, the romance is pretty prevalent, and even in the second book, it's pretty prevalent as well. But then like, I feel like in the 3rd and 4th book, it really, and in the 5th book, it really takes like the back seat. And I understand why, because like they really wanted to capitalize on like different stuff that was happening throughout the books. But I was like, okay, but I'm also supposed to care about this relationship, and I feel like that's not even really being a part of the book right now. It was just not it for me. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And it's not like I was sitting here like, 1 star, this book was terrible. Like, yeah, there was stuff that I enjoyed about it. Like I said, I can completely understand the narrative of female revenge, and I respect it. I just didn't like it. So yeah, but those are all 24 books that I read this month. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Tell me down below what books you guys read. If you've read any of these books, your opinions on them. Love to see your guys' comments down below. And again, like, comment, subscribe, do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys know how to do. And until then, I will see you guys when I see ya. Peace.